Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Marguerite. I'm here with my page Wreaths by Marguerite here on YouTube to show you how to make a tree topper bow. This is the second in a series of bow making videos. I'm not sure if it's going to be 3 or 4 different styles, but this is number 2. This is one of the larger bows I make. It is designed to fit on top of a Christmas tree or anywhere you need a bigger bow. I'll say it again later, but when you're doing a tree topper bow for the actual Christmas tree, make sure you make 2 because you want to put 1 on each side, unless your tree is sitting against a wall. So I've used 8 different ribbons in this design, and I started with an 8-inch loop because this is going to go on a pine 48-inch wreath outside of my home. This is for decorating outside. So I used all the ribbons that I've used in the terry bow and the other bows that I'm making for outside and in this tutorial, but I've added a few more because I made a wreath in the same color combination. That was actually the inspiration for this whole thing as far as colors and designs and such. I made that wreath, and this plays off of all the colors in that wreath and has some of the ribbon from that. Excuse me. So follow along and I'll teach you how to make this tree topper bow from start to finish, and ask any questions in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them later for you. So here we go. Okay, so let's go over the supplies and the equipment we're using for this. I'm using all the ribbons that I used in my previous video for the terry bows, so you'll have to refer back to that to check that one out as well. But today, like I said, pardon, I'm making a tree topper bow. You can make these for the top of a Christmas tree or other places. I have a 48-inch pine wreath for the front of the arbor out in the front yard that I want to decorate. I have some bells for it, and then I'm going to use these ribbons to make the tree topper style bow in order to hang above the bells on the pine wreath. So I've added a few extra ribbons. This is going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ribbon bow. So it's going to be pretty good size. Like I talked about in my previous bow video, I don't like to have loops less than 3 inches in length once the loop is made. So this is not a problem because this is going to be the center loop. So this would be 3. And that means that one's going by itself. And you'll learn what I mean in just a few moments. These will be opposite each other. So these will be, so I'm going to go with 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 inch. And I start with the 8 inch first because that's going to be the bottom of the bow. So I'm going to go with this one first. So I'm just going to lay everything else down so it's not blocking the camera in the order which I plan to use it. You need a couple of pipe cleaners unless you have the 20-inch pipe cleaners. I'm going to go ahead and prep these so they're ready to go when I need to put them on the bow. So what I do is I take 2 12-inch normal size pipe cleaners and I twist them around each other right here in the center. One going one way and one going the other way. That creates a nice secure knot to hold it in place, and then I give it a good tug once I get it done being wrapped to make sure it's nice and secure. So that will be for later. That is that long because if you're not sure where you're going to put a bow, or if you're selling a bow to somebody, you always want to give plenty of slack in the pipe cleaner for attachment because it may be a wide pole or a wide wreath, or it might be a narrow one. You can always adjust the length or hide the extra later. I'm using a zip tie today to hold the ribbon bow together because again it's going to be outside. You can either use a pipe cleaner, this right here only, and it'll do the dual duty of holding the bow together as well as attaching it to wherever it's going. But like I said, when it's outside I always like to use the zip ties because that helps keep it even more secure, especially with Nebraska wind. Okay, we're going to need some wire cutters, a good pair of scissors that you only use on ribbon. This is my Fiskar brand. I love these. They work very well. And then a bow maker. You can attempt to do this by hand, do hand bows, but it's a struggle for me. So if it's a struggle for me and you think you're not sure about whether you can do it in your hand, this is the way to go. If you refer back to my video for the terry bow, you'll see this and another style bow maker that you could use. I'm presented with the challenge of very small thumbs, but that has never stopped me from doing anything except for maybe a little bowling. It's a joke, but I'm serious. It's hard to hold a bowling ball, but it is what it is. Fortunately, I don't like to bowl, so that's either near or there. When you do a hand bow, you're gathering all your ribbon right here. And with this many ribbons, I just don't have the space to hold everything securely in my hand. So the bow maker is a great tool to use in that case, and for those that have problems with carpal tunnel and other issues with their hands. It's really helpful to have this as a third hand. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start by putting our ribbon on the spool. And there are 3 pegs here, but we don't use the smaller one. This is for small, like hair bows. This is for a regular bow, like what we're doing today. All right, let me put that over there. So I'm going to want fairly long tails on this because it's such a big wreath. I can always shorten them later, but you can't add any on to the ribbon. And I want nice long tails so I can curl them as well. So I'm going to use all of the 10 inches on this side of the board and another 10 on this side to start, with my longest tails being at the back. Okay, so that means I'm going with a 20-inch tail, and then I'm going to gather the ribbon up together, ruffling it, and then I'm going to put it in the spool, in the pegs, with the tail side, with the finish side up, and on the other side, which is going to be the first loop, I'm going to be twisting it on this side of the post with the finish side facing down to the table. And the reason that is we're going to make a loop. And what did I say here? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Didn't I say 8? We're going with the 8-inch tail. 8. And you notice the ho-ho-ho is now upside down to me, but right side up to you. You can leave it like that if you don't care, or if you want to make sure that it is facing the right direction. Once the bow is finished, I will show you a trick in just a moment. But first I'm going to put the ribbon on the bow board. So we decided to go with 8 inches at the back. I'm going to put it in the pegs and squish it down. Get this all fluffed out over there. There's your first loop. And then I'm going to twist the ribbon on the other side of the post. Okay, that way the finished side is down again. Giving myself some slack here so I'm not struggling so much. Then I'm going to take the ribbon and put it back into the posts and measure out to the 8. And if you notice, just like on this side, I use one finger to hold it in place. I don't press down on the ribbon because we don't want to crease it. I mean, you can do that, that's fine. Usually you can get the creases out if you do it very quickly. Or trick of the trade is a hair straightener. So now that loop is finished. I'm going to fluff it up in at the base a little. It gets a little divots in it from gathering it. You can't avoid that, but the better you gather it, the better. You'll have less of them. So I'm only doing 2 loops. So this was the second loop. So I did not twist the ribbon on this side. I did on that because I still had one more loop to do. But now that it was our final loop, I'm going to keep it just straight and not twist it upside down. All right? So now I'm going to take the first tail, bring it down in front of me and into the camera so that you can see where I'm cutting it, so that they're even to start off with. That may change later, and that's fine. I get this out of the way. Now this is going to be a coordinating bow to the terry bows. So they won't be all exactly the same combinations of ribbons, but between all of them, they're all used. All right, I'm going to put that over there and out of the way. I'm gonna bring this board back over to me a little. And keep these tails down and off the table to me, okay? So there's that. Now remember I said this one's upside down to me, this one's right side up, and I want them all the same direction. So I'm just going to hold everything down on both sides of the post except for the loop. And I'm going to take it at the base and I'm going to turn it around. And now we have both of the ho-ho-ho loops facing the same direction, okay? Then the next thing I'm going to do is make sure all my ribbon is properly sitting in there, because some of the back of it had folded over on itself, so I'm fixing that. And I'm putting one up and one down, because the next one of the loops, next one I'm going to put a loop up and a loop down. I'm going to go back and forth and back and forth. So now we're going to go with this one. And I'm still going to stick with 20 inches on the tail for now. I'll probably shorten it a little bit once I get the bow made. Time will tell. I may just put the V's in the end of it and wait till I get it out on the wreath before I do any more cutting. Because like I said, once you cut it, it's gone. You can't add any on. So I'd rather leave the excess on until I'm sure it's going to fit perfectly with the wreath at the length that it is. So again, we went to 20 inches. I used the previous tail that time, if you noticed, to figure out the length. And now I'm just scrunching it up, gathering it in the center again, and then twisting it and putting it in the post. Okay? See how it just kind of bubbles up in there? I'm fixing that right away, getting my tails out of the way. So now it's upside down on this side, the side we're making the loop on. It's right side up on the side we made the tail. So now we're going to do another, so if I'm, let me see, 8, 7, 6, 8, 7, 6, 8, 7, 6, 5. Yep. This one's also 8. Sometimes I confuse myself. That's normal. Completely normal. It's my story and I'm sticking to it. So now I'm putting that in the post again, taking my finger to measure it out to the 8 on the bow maker, and I'm laying it down flat on this side, and then I'm twisting the ribbon on the opposite side of the post. Okay. And you noticed I put that tail down, not tail, loop. So now here I go again with another loop. And I'm measuring it out, putting my finger in it right at the 8. And this time, since it's the last loop, we are not going to twist it. We're just gathering it down into the post. And then we're just going to manipulate it there, position it. Now you can just make it right one loop on top of the other with each ribbon and then spread it out once you get done. But I like to do it as I go along because there's less manipulating with everything else in the way when I do it this way. And then I'm going to cut this off again. I got everything where I needed it to be. The more you do as you go, I find makes it easier when you get to the end. I know there's a pin, but I guess I will find it later. Okay. Alright, so those were both 8 inches, so that means that this ribbon is going to be 7 inches. And if you notice on this particular bow, I have all the ribbons going so that the ribbon comes off of the rule to the right in front of me. I do it a little differently with the terry bow. You do what is comfortable with you. So that last set of tails was 20 inches on these two. So I'm going to go down an inch. There's 10 inches on this side of the post and 16 on this side. So 10 plus 9 would make 19. And I'm going to gather that on the table. You can do it in the air, however you're comfortable. And then I twist it before I put it in the bow maker. And then I just get it all lined up. And now I'm going to do a 7-inch loop with the finished side down on the loop side. I'm going to put my ribbon in, and I'm going to measure and hold it in place at 7. It's going to be an inch shorter. Press that down into the bow maker, get it in place, and twist it on the other side of the post. Alright, I'm going to do one more loop so it's centered between these two ribbons. Finish side down. When you start the loop, bring it over to the 7, hold it in place, and remembering that since this is the last loop, I'm just going to scrunch all the ribbon into the posts and bring my tail down towards me. Okay? Get it all manipulated and in place. And then this time it's 19 inches, so I'm going to use the previous tail and cut it the same length as that for now. Okay, get that ribbon out of the way. Yep, there's an extra piece. That's right, this was 2 rules on 1. Alright, let's put that pin in there so it doesn't unroll. Okay, so we now have 3 ribbons. We have this one pulled up here, the ho-ho-ho pulled down here next to the tails, and now the stripe, multicolored stripe, is in between them. Okay, then the opposite, the polka dots down and the ho-ho-ho is up with the stripe in the center. Okay, alright, so now we're going to move on to the next 3. I'm going to use this one, and this one's going to be at 6 inches in length. I'm going down an inch per loop, inch per ribbon, because I want to make sure I can still see the ribbon from the previous loops behind them clearly as well. So we're going to go down to 18 inches on the loops, on this one and on the next one, which is the reindeer. So 10 plus 8 would be 18, so 10 to here, and then another 8 over here, and then I'm going to gather it and twist it before I put it into the pegs. Bring this down and out of the way, and now I have the finished side of this ribbon facing down. Okay, so that was 8, that was 7, so this will be 6 inches in length. So I'm going to put this on the board, hold my finger down at the 6-inch mark and put it into the peg. Give myself some slack. So I'm squishing it down, and then I'm twisting it to the on the opposite side of the peg. So the loop's on this side, the twist is on this side, and it's twisted so the finished side is down. I'm going to put this up here so that the greens are not on top of each other. It's entirely up to you how you place it, but that's how I'm doing it. So now the finished side is down, and I'm going to go up and over to 6 inches and hold it with my finger and bring it back into the posts. I'm not twisting this because it's the final loop. So I'm going to hold it down for a second with my hand and bring it down here over the ho-ho-ho ribbon. And then I'm just going to run my fingers along the ribbon and bring it down here and use the ribbon from the other side to measure my length. Or you can use the cutting board you have on the table, cutting mat. If you're using a cutting mat, I always recommend having a cutting mat. It protects your table. So those are ready. So that's 6 inches. That's a little too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold all the ribbons down and I'm going to pull it back so it's for sure at 6 inches. And the same thing on this one. I went a little heavy. It would have been fine if it was the same on both sides, but I want it to be a 1-inch difference, so we're going with that. Okay. I heard it fall on the floor, so I'll have to come back to that. Put those there and that there. Actually, let me get one out of the drawer so I don't forget to do this. Got my push pins out. Alright, there's that. So now we're going to do one more set of loops that are at the same length at 6 inches because that's the pattern we're using. You can use whatever pattern you want. It's up to you, but this is what I'm going with. So this will be up over the ho-ho-ho there, and this will be down over the ho-ho-ho here. So here's another black, red, and white, which would match with the ho-ho-ho, but we're moving down into the 1.5 inch ribbons, where I used 2.5 inches till I got this one. So now we're going to go with this. Let's see, we went with 20, 20, 19, 18. So this is going to match the length of this one. I got a thing about balance and symmetry. So both of the ribbons on this layer, I'm going to scrunch that up and twist it on the other side. So see, this is upside down. We can amend that by just making sure that we cut it. We're just going to, here, I'll show you. I'm going to just gather it and put it in at the cut side in here because this will be hidden, and bring it down here. This is what happens when you use directional ribbon, meaning that the design only goes one direction. So I'm going to cut that there. So now the reindeers are right side up. So then I'm going to go ahead and put my ribbon in this way, upside down. Actually, I'm going to start on this side so that one piece is heading this way and one piece is headed this way. That's hidden. Okay, I put it in upside down because we're now going to make the first loop. Okay, we're going to bring that up, and it's also going to be, so 8, 7, 6 is going to be the same length as this one. You can either use the board or the previous loop if it's the same size to measure out your ribbon. I'm going to squish it in and twist it on the left side of the post, my left. The opposite side of the post from where the loop is. And then bring this down where we want it to stay. Alright, then we're going to come up here. And yes, the deer is going to be facing both direction in the loops. But it actually looks right. Because this is going to go up over the polka dots, so it looks right side up there. And I'm going to take a look at it. This is our final tail. We didn't twist on the top loop. I'm going to go ahead and turn the loop around just like we did on the ho-ho-ho. I'm going to hold everything else in place, and then I'm going to twist the loop so that it's right side up on both sides. Okay? And it's down over the polka dot where this is up over the ho-ho-ho. And then we're just going to measure out the tail again to make it even, and move on to the next ribbon. This is all wired ribbon I'm using. I keep losing my pins, so that's why I got the little bin of pins out, little box of pins out. Put that over here. I'm sure the other one will appear someday. Most likely when I vacuum. Did I put one on this? No, I need to. Okay. There we go. There's those. Alright, so now we have 2 loops at 6 inches, one on each side of this single. And now we're going to do the same thing again. Center this between these 2. Okay? The pattern is universal, so there's no up or down on this ribbon, so it doesn't matter which direction you put it on the bow. But we went with 20, 19, 18. Now we're going to go to 17-inch tails, so that's 10 inches on this side to 7 inches on the other. Or you can just use your table, your cutting mat. We're going to pinch that and twist it and put it in the peg. Putting your tail down on one side. And you notice I run my fingers over all the ribbon as I go. That helps it keep it straight and not wrinkled. Now, the finished side is down once again, as always. And we're going to put the loop in and measure it in at 5 inches. Okay. We're going to press it down and twist it on the opposite side of the post from the loop. And then we're just going to have finished side down, and we're going to bring it up again to complete the loop and check on our board where 5 inches is, because we've got quite a bit of ribbon on here now. You have to move some of the loops out of the way, put the loop in, and then just scrunch it down, no twist, because that was our last loop. And I decided 17, so I'm going to bring this over here and cut it. Okay, so that, see, it's starting to puff up in the bow maker. So you notice I'm putting my fingers there a lot. That I don't want it lifting up and out or getting out of place or twisted. So I do that a lot more as I go along. Oh, there's the other one. See, they always show up. Pins. Alright, so that's the second group of 3. You could do it where you just go up and down on each ribbon. You don't have to do a center, but this is a tree topper bow, so we want to fill in all the space with all the fluffy ribbon. So here we go. So this is another 1.5 inch ribbon. I could have even put 4-inch ribbon in here, but I'm trying to keep it more basic till people have had a chance to practice this before we include other elements in different sizes. These are the 2 basic size ribbons you'll find on the market. The 1.5 inch and the 2.5 inch wide. Okay, so we're going to bring this off. This matches this one, but we don't want it on top of it. So now we're going down to a 16-inch tail. So 10 on this side, 6 on this. We're going to scrunch it up, gather it, and then twist it as we're putting it in there. You can do it before or after you put it in there. Okay. Now that finished side is down on the right, on the loop side. So this is going to be, so we had 8, 7, 6, 5. So this is going to be a 4-inch loop. I'm going to find that on the bow maker and put it in there and press it down and squish it, and then I'm going to twist it on the side opposite of the loop, not on the side the loop's on. Okay, so it's going to go there, up, and then the other loop is going to go down. So we have the finished side down. Put your loop in there. Find the 4 on the board. It's getting hidden. Where's the 4? Where are you, 4? There you are. So that's going to go right there. I'm going to put that in and press it down and not twist it, because this is the last loop once again in this ribbon choice. So now I'm going to bring the tails down and match them up for length. Try not to cut the palm of my hand. Alright. Just do whatever you need to do to get that straightened out. Okay. Let's see. Let's put that pin in and move on to the next. The next one will be the same length, which is 4 inches. It's a sheer polka dot. So this went down. This was in the center. So we're going to start with another 16-inch tail, because we're matching up both ribbons that are the same loop size. Twist it, put it in your bow maker. And now we're going to do another 4-inch. So rather than trying to dig through all the ribbon to find the 4, I already have one, so I'm just going to use that to measure out this final 4-inch loop on each side. Okay, press it in and twist it, and then I'm going to bring it up on this other side, match it up with the other one that's 4 inches in length, and just press it down and then scrunch it, and no twist. Okay, same length on the ribbon tails, so I'm just going to bring them up and match them. Look how big this bow is going to be. So now this is going to go down on this side and up on this side. And place it there. All right. One on each side. And on this one, I'm going to do a center loop. Get this all settled and out of the way. Get that out. So I'm going with this 7/8. I believe this is 7/8. Let me measure it. That's a 7/8, yeah. There's 5/8 and 7/8. This is a 7/8 inch ribbon. My mouth is dry. Okay, I'm going to make this extra long because we're going to do a lot of curling with it. So I'm going to go back to 20 inches on the tail and then twist it before I put it in the bow maker with the finished side up on this side with the tail. And then I'm going to have the finished side down on the other side, and we're going to do a single loop, so a one loop. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it up and go to about the 3-inch mark. That's usually 2 to 3 fingers in the loop. And we're not twisting it because it's a single loop. Match up these tails and cut it. Alright, so now we've finished all of the loops for this bow. This is going to be one fluffy bow. Put this in there so it's not rolling everywhere. Okay, and it's complete. So now I'm going to take the zip tie and put it under the very bottom ribbon all the way underneath. Make sure you've got everything on this side of the bow inside of the zip tie. I'm going to press everything down to make it easier to attach the zip tie. I did it where the lock is facing down on the table. So I'm bringing the lock up and over. And I'm going to get it just locked in. And then I'm going to, where are they? Get my needle nose. I forgot to bring these out. I usually bring these out to help, especially when I've got a lot of ribbon on the bow board or when my hands are sore. I'm zipping it down enough to hold everything in place, and then I'm going to take my hands up underneath and I'm going to put one on the top and one underneath the bow to bring it up and out of the bow maker. I put my hand on top of that so that it didn't go flying off if it suddenly loosened up from my pressure of my hands and go flying. So you can gather all of the ribbon into your hand and your fingers and your thumb and forefinger to hold in place while you move the zip tie, but it's more difficult for me with the shorter thumbs. So I'm going to press all of the ribbon down on the table, not out here, but just in the center to bring that zip tie and lock to the back. And then I'm going to put it in my index finger and my middle finger to hold it in place till I get that to the back. So then at this point you're going to turn the bow over and put your pipe cleaners through the zip tie. You need to do it at this point or you'll never be able to get them under the zip tie because it would just be too tight. And then I'm going to use the needle nose to tighten this up. Again, I'm not tightening it all the way because I need room to manipulate all of the loops and tails. Now this time I'm going to get my fluff box. Grab this. One moment, please. In my case, this is just a piece of wood with a handle to carry it with. I used a piece of butcher block that was left over from putting our sink in it. And you put a hook in the center. I just used a cup hook. You can use the little ones with the eyes that just screw in. And then I have nails at 2 different positions. That's to hold the pipe cleaners away from the bow. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, when I use the fluff box, I tend to stand up. So I'm going to take both of the pipe cleaners and I'm going to take it around that cup hook in the center, just one side of it, and I'm going to wrap it around the nail up here to hold it in place. And now I have both of my hands free to fluff the bow. So I'm going to bring all these tails down here and out of the way for now. I'll do the tails after the loops. So that allows me to get in there and really get a grip on all of the bow loops to position them where I want to. I didn't tighten the zip tie all the way, so don't pull tremendously on the loops, but enough that you can position them where you want and manipulate them. So I did the bottom two. That one stays in the center. Then I'm going to take these two and put them over there for now. Then this one goes in the center. Lift it and separate it out where you want. And then I'm going to put these two here. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Get these tails out of my way. Bring them all down here. And as I'm positioning the loops, I'm also putting my fingers and hands into the loop to fluff them out. I'll do it again in a minute. So that was those two. That goes there. So then this goes up here. I didn't tighten this enough. I can fix that. This is why I'm gonna use this. This is the way you make sure that it's tight enough. Alright, let me get that in there. Remember on the deer, I put them in cut at the top. So I didn't tighten the zip tie tight enough to hold it in there for me to manipulate it like I just did. Alright, so it's fixed now. Otherwise I'd have to take it all apart, which wouldn't be the end of the world, it'd just be a little frustrating. Alright, so that's all positioned where it needs to be. This one goes next, up there. Over this one. This one goes down, like I did on the other side. And then this is a little long, so since there's no twist in it, I can take the top piece of ribbon and give it a nice tug and shorten it up, because we want the loop in the single center loop to hide the zip tie when we're done, okay? And I will tighten the zip tie completely once I get it off of the bow maker. Let's get everything where it's supposed to be. We're playing with it. I'm just moving things around. I want this in between these two from the back. And then this needs to be here, and that needs to be there. And we just play with the loops till we get them where we want them. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the back of the ribbon tails. And I'm going to put in a finishing touch. I'm going to fold the ribbon in half and point it towards the ceiling and cut from the fold in the ribbon to the wire to give it what's called a dovetail. Get back in the camera. There we go. Alright, and I'm going to do that on every piece of ribbon. Cut it from the fold to the V, fold to the wire to get the V. Run my fingers over it as I'm going to give it some fluff. Curls it up a little bit. Next one. So these two go behind this one. And then the next two were these two. But on these, after I cut the V in them, I'm going to actually curl them up in my fingers. And then I'm going to grab the end and pull it down, and it gives that extra little level of curl on it. See, I'm running my fingers over the wire. This ribbon has a little bit of a wrinkle to it because it's further down the roll. Sometimes that happens, so that helps to get the wrinkles out. And I'm rolling this as well, all the way up to the base, and then pulling it out by the tip. Not too hard. So that was those two. The center one was this one, so this one's next. Bring that down. Cut the V, give it some more curls. I like curls. I like lots of curls. Now pull that down, and these are the last two. So I'll do the same thing with these. Cut the V. Curl them. Make sure you have a good amount of ribbon on a tail if you want to do this. I recommend at least 16 inches, 12-inch tails. It's really hard to do the curls on them. Okay, so that's that side. So now we're going to go to the other side. And since I have the polka dot on the outside and the ho-ho-ho on this side, I'm going to do opposite on this side. Gives it more dimension. Cut that one. Run my fingers over it. Cut that one. And run my fingers over it. Gives it a nice curl. This is the center ribbon, so it's going to still stay in the center between the two. Bring that out. Fold it in half. Cut from the fold to the wire. So the next two are this and the reindeer. So the other side, we had the reindeer on the outside of this ribbon. So this time we're going to have it on the inside. So that means this crisscross plaid, as I like to call it. I change its name all the time, to be honest. So again, we're going to start with the curling on the thinner ribbon, the 1.5 inch and the 7/8. And now we're going to do the deer. See how I'm doing that? That helps curl it. Pull the end out. Alright, so the next one is the stripe. No, is it? No, it's this one, the polka dot, because that was the center loop. Cut that. Curl it. The right side looks a little longer than the left, and that's okay because I'm going to put it out there first and see what I think. That didn't curl very well for me, so I'm going to redo it. I maybe needed a tighter curl to start with. Let it go. There we go. I want that one to be a little more curly too. I wasn't happy with how curly that was. Let's try it again. Okay, so there's that. So we've got the final two. So last time this was on the outside and the sheer was on the inside, so we're going to do it the opposite, but let me cut it first. Make that V. Roll it up, if it lets you. Bring it all the way up. Pull out the tip. The last stripe one. Cut from the fold to the wire. Roll it up. Pull it down. So now we're to these. And you notice that hides the zip tie in the center of the bow now because it's a single loop the way it's positioned. So this is a little bit funkier to do the V on, so I'm just going to do an angled cut on one side and angle the cut opposite on the other side, just for balance and symmetry. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did with the 1.5 inch. I'm going to roll it up nice and tight and pull the tip out to get that cute, really cute curl. Isn't that pretty? I love that. Do this. I'm going to cut that at too much of an angle. Let me cut it down a little less of a angle. There we go. that up. I'm trying to stay in camera, but these are so long. I don't want to pull the camera back because I want you to see the details. So pull that tip out. Okay, get all my mess out of the way that's detracting from the bow. And then I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to untie the pipe cleaners from the nail on the fluff box. If it lets me. Untangle it. And I'm going to pull it off of that hook. And then I'm going to pull this zip tie as tight as it'll go now, so that I can cut the excess off the wire cutters. And there we have it. Fluff it a little bit more in my hand. Now, if you were putting this on a Christmas tree, I would make a second one the same so you can put one on each side of the tree. You could also fill it in with different sprays and picks to give it even more dimension, especially on the tree. You can have them coming out the top at different angles with one of these on each side of the tree. But like I said, this is going to go on my green pine 48-inch wreath that hangs outside. And that's also why I chose all the colors I did, to keep it coordinated with the other bows that I'm making throughout these tutorials to decorate my house. So there you have it. Okay, there you have it. Let me flop it on and start over. Okay, there you have it. We've completed a tree topper bow with lots of curls, lots of loops, lots of ribbon, lots of beautiful glitter and all the things. Give it a try. I'm sure you'll be successful if you just follow the steps. Let me talk real quick about this bow maker. Like I've said in previous videos, this is the the Easy Bow Designer Pro. This is the largest one they have. Let me grab the other one. This is their basic version. Deluxe Easy Bow Maker. Let me come back over here. I'm running away. This is the greatest one to start with. The reason I use this one is, if you noticed, I had much larger tails and loops on these. So you could technically make a bow with 10-inch loops, 16-inch loops. No, 10-inch loops is probably as far as you'd want to go on this bigger board. But that's huge. That'd be great for like the top of your tree, or if you're buying a new car or a big TV as a gift. They make great bows for that. Any of them, any of the styles you learn to do from my channel and elsewhere. So this is made by Easy Craft, and they are at easycraft.com. So it's EZCraft.com. They have many different retailers. You can find them if you Google it as well, or you can buy them directly from them. I love it because it's the easiest one to use. I've said in other videos that there are other bow makers, and maybe if I get time, I will show you how some of them work, and you'll realize how simple this is. So that's those. And then as you saw during the video, I used a piece of, what is this again? It's from my counter. Butcher block. I'm okay. Words are hard sometimes. I used a piece of butcher block because you want something heavy. They have pre-made fluff boxes for purchase at probowthehand.com, but I went ahead and made my own and put a handle on it. She uses a little eye that screws into the board for hers, so you can run wire through it or your pipe cleaner through it. But if you're handy like myself and my husband, I just used a cup hook and I folded down the hook a little bit tighter. And a regular fluff box comes with one little nail at the end, but sometimes I have a shorter pipe cleaner, so I needed the second one. So it's up to you. Start with the one on the outer edge, and if you think you need a secondary nail, do like I did. it just really frees you up to fluff the bow like you want to, rather than holding it in your hand and using the other hand to move everything around. Plus, that way, if you stand up and use the fluff box, you get a much clearer perspective of how the ribbon is going to look and the bow is going to look. So I advise everyone to get one of these or make their own if they've got somebody handy to help them, or do it yourself. The ribbons were from all over the place, anywhere from Michael's to Sam's Club to a lot of the different vendors that are available online throughout the United States. So that gives me a variety of price points into my ribbons. So you can mix the thicker, more deluxe ribbons in with the thinner ones. You just got to make sure you have a good wire, and that's the key to a good loop. And then you can just fluff it all day long. I could sit here and just keep fluffing this on and on and on because it's so pretty. All right, well, there you have it. A tree topper style bow. You can put at the top of the tree. I would advise 2, like I said before. If you're putting it on top of a tree, put picks and sprays around it. It would look great. But I'm using this on a 48-inch pine wreath that I'm placing outside. And then I have some cute little green, red, and lime green and white bells. That's why I went with these color combinations, because I wanted that was my inspiration. That's what everything continued forward from. That was what set me in motion on my pattern and the types of ribbons I had. I hope that made sense. Again, I want to thank you for spending some time with me today while I did this. I hope you've learned something that you can incorporate into your own life and decorating. You can downsize this a little bit if you want to put it on packages. Maybe not do 8 ribbons, maybe do 4 or 5, keeping that down. Just depends on the size of the package. It's up to you. And also, if you don't want to have a 1-inch difference in each loop, you can do a 1/2 inch. I believe I talked about that in the video. If I didn't, I am now. So that they're closer together, but I really wanted you to be able to see a lot of each loop. So that really was the idea behind me going with 1 inch, from 8-inch to 7 to 6 to 5 to 4. So there you have it. Thank you again for spending time with me. I know you have plenty of things you can be doing with your time, but I appreciate you spending some of it with me here today. If you liked what you saw and would like to learn more, I've got 50 videos out there, and it's continuing to grow here on the YouTube channel, so you're welcome to subscribe. That is a free part of the program. If you want to follow me elsewhere, I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, all under the handle Wreaths by Marguerite, just like here on the YouTube channel. And then if you're interested in any of my finished product, just head over to Etsy at Wreaths by Marguerite. That's the way to purchase the finished product. Thanks again for spending some time with me, and I hope I see you again before Christmas. If not, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I really hope you enjoy the content. I enjoy sharing it with you. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.